And welcome back to the Make the Adjustment podcast, where we focus on leadership, growth, and what it really takes to make the adjustment in business and in life. Today, I'm really excited to talk to Mark Boutin, who I actually connected with through the Dan Martell Elite Coaching Community, which is an amazing community. And Mark currently works in a company in doing fitness coaching. He's an entrepreneur who helps hardworking founder dads who feel like they've gotten lost. And Mark, I was your ICP 5 years ago, and I might be again, so I'm glad you're here. But what I'm excited to unpack today is not just fitness, but like a deeper story about identity, discipline, fatherhood, legacy. Because, a lot of men and male entrepreneurs, we work hard and we're providing and we're building and we're doing the things that we think we're supposed to be doing. But somewhere on the way, we get lost. So, Mark, welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here.
Awesome, Chris. Thanks for having me. Yeah, we got connected through Dan Martell's Elite Coaching, which is just amazing. I've met a ton of awesome people, and you being one of them. So thanks for having me, and super excited about the conversation today.
Yeah, it's fun to be around like-minded people, Mark, and I'm sure you find this with your clients that once you get them going, the mindset that we have to continuously improve every day and stay disciplined. Dan Martell has the five non-negotiables that we both live up to. I know you do, as do I. I actually did my 5 outbounds early this morning, so I got that out of the way. But
Nice.
but tell me about your story and kind of your journey in finding fitness, not only as a passion, but as a coach and a business, and just tell me your story.
Yeah, so I found fitness way back when I was 18, right? So I was the typical, over a buddy's house. He had some weights in his basement, and we were like, hey, how much can we bench, right? You load up the bench and you start doing that, and just kept kind of going back every day, and it kind of um, kept building, and before you know it, like I signed up for a gym, and then I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I found it pretty early, and I've done it consistently for, geez, I don't want to date myself, but almost 30 years now. And during different points of my life, I've done it, more seriously, less seriously, but it's always been like that backdrop, like right there that I can always fall back on. And so what really kicked it into overdrive and like cemented like this is like health and fitness is like paramount in your life, regardless if you're male, female, entrepreneur, executive, no matter who you are, fitness is like it's the thing. Like if you're not doing fitness, you should be. So back in 2022, I started two businesses at the same time. I'm a crazy entrepreneur. I jumped and I started building the parachute on the way down. And I built both of those companies over a few years. And in 2025, things started to like become hectic. I had said yes to everything when I went out on my own. So all of a sudden, like my plate was starting to overflow. And what I was starting to realize is like I had a lot of chaos in my life. But the thing that I actually doubled down on, even though life was chaotic, my, every day, like something was, a trouble, something's on fire that I had to fix. But the more that it got chaotic, the more I found myself doubling down on my fitness and going to the gym and getting into better and better shape. And that's really what brought me to what I'm doing today, helping, founders, dads, executives, high performing men that have kind of lost their edge get that back because it's such a strong foundation that will fuel literally everything else in your life.
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you a question about that. I totally agree with you. And did you ever feel lost? Like we talk about, like, I know I felt lost. Like I told you my journey, I was a former professional athlete, to the age of about 30, 35, I was in good shape. And then for 10, 15 years, just lost it. And, made all the excuses. Oh, I'm supporting my family. I'm traveling. Oh, it's hard for this. All the excuses that all of us come up with. And then one day it was like, I think it was my 50th ish birthday. I just looked in the mirror. I'm like, dude, I want to see the guy I saw when I was 25. Like, what are you doing? And it was like me talking to myself the way I'm talking to you right now. And I just said it was, and in my book, Make the Adjustment, I say change is a choice. Like that day I just chose. I'm like, I'm just choosing. And obviously there's a lot of obstacles. Once you choose, there's still a lot of obstacles beyond that. But like, did you ever get lost? And because
Yeah,
I'm curious to hear that story too.
percent. What you just said, I had back in was it 2009. I had just turned 30. and I had just had my second child, so I had a 18-month-old and like a newborn. And I walked into the bathroom one day and I was standing in the front of the mirror to get in the shower, and I looked at myself and I'm like, what the hell is your problem? What happened to you? I let my fitness go a little bit. I stopped watching what I ate, and I was just like, dude, like you need to get your shit together. So literally that day, I was like, I'm done. I'm doing a fitness competition. So 30 years old, two kids under two. I reached out to a trainer that I had been following, talking with, a nutritionist. He's actually pretty huge now. His name's Lane Norton. He's been on the Joe
If
Rogan
I can know that
podcast,
name,
so
yeah.
he's amazing now. Yeah. But back then he was just like, he was just getting started. So I hired him, and over 6 months, I completely transformed my body back into what it was, and I did my first bodybuilding competition at the age of 30, just because I said, I'm done. I can't do
Yeah.
this anymore.
So cool. Yeah, and I think what's so relatable is almost all of us have this story. I think a lot of us that we may have played high school sports or college sports and we took care of ourselves in our 20s, and you have your body, and then you just life happens and all the things happen, and
Hmm.
so it's common. I think everybody listening probably has a similar story to this. And so,
Yeah, 100%.
Dan talks about, like, we have 45 minutes a day is the minimum for the 5 daily
Hmm.
non-negotiables to exercise. And he
Hmm.
also talks about, which I believe, and I'm sure you believe as well, when you walk into a room, if you are a generally fit person, that is your brand. I mean, it shows the other side. You have discipline and you take care of yourself. And I've always said to you, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. So I am
100%.
curious, like, when you help your ideal client, what does that look like? Because I do believe everybody needs a coach. Like, as much as there's great information about fitness everywhere and everybody thinks they know what they need to do, I personally have had, like, I'm into kettlebells. I've had a kettlebell coach for 16 months. And I don't think I'd make the level of progress without a coach. So, like, why do people need a coach? Why do people reach out to you? How do you help them, et cetera?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Um, I think everybody needs a coach, regardless of what level. I'm sure that this is such a cliche, but like, you look at the Jordans, the Tiger Woodses, like all the elite people in sports, like literally everybody has a coach. Dan Martell has a coach, right? So I have a coach right now. I wanted to over the winter I bulked, and now I'm cutting for summer. I have a coach. And one of the reasons I have a coach and everybody else should have a coach is because it is it is so much easier to have somebody else be objective with you and hold you accountable than your own self, right? So like I can look in the mirror and I can be like, oh, I think I need to change this, or I need to do this to my diet. But when you go to somebody else, they can look at you, you tell them like what you've been doing, your cardio, your meal plan, and they have a completely objective insight into like what you're doing, and they say, here, change this, keep this, and they'll give you feedback and they'll keep you on course. Sometimes I like to relate it to like a wall of dials. So think you walk into a room and you got like 100 dials on the wall. Some people think you have to go up to like all the dials and just crank them, right? It's literally going up to like two or three at a time and just making that little adjustment, like the 1% adjustment, and it can make a huge, huge difference.
Yeah, 100%. And you just articulated too, like, simplifying it. I used to think that I had to do different things. I had to use weights. I had to use cardio. I had to do, in my particular program, and I want to talk about your program in a minute, but, like, they simplified it. Like, Chris, you only need kettlebells. You can do cardio with kettlebells. You can do strength with kettlebells. We're going to build a foundation for you. And in the simplicity of logging in the morning, your coach gives you a workout, and you just literally follow the bouncing ball. Like, there's a beauty in
Hmm.
having a coach, and then every week you get updates from, hey, this is, you take pictures, and I know you do a lot of this stuff, but what is it, the thing that, like, these founder dads that you really primarily work with, even though you work with all types of people, what is the problem? Like,
Hmm.
what is the most common thing you hear when you first talk to these people?
Yeah. So I think, there's a couple of consistent problems, if you will. Uh, One of them is, there's so much information on the internet, YouTube, Instagram, literally AI. Like we're in the age of information, right? And they're trying to overcomplicate it. They have all this information, like these are top performers, and a lot of people are like, I need to like read and do this and take all these things and cram it into like an hour. And then how they're just overwhelmed with all this information. But you got to distill it down to a simple, repeatable program that you can just put on repeat and do day after day that doesn't derail the rest of your life, right? So just recently, I started with my coach about 8 weeks ago. I went to him. I was at 8.7% body fat, and my goal was to get down in the 5% for summer. I'm down to 6%, and doing the exact same workout that I've done over, the past 6 months. I've just made tiny adjustments in my diet, tiny adjustments to my cardio, but I keep it so simple. It's not complex. It's very simple, and I'm able to do it every single day, regardless of how busy my day looks. And the other thing is time. People think that they have to spend hours in the gym. If I'm at the gym for more than an hour and 15 minutes a day, then like that's crazy. Literally between like an hour and 5 and an hour and 15 minutes, and I time it on my watch. I'm in and out. That includes warm up, stretching, my workout, everything. I'm done. So like, don't overcomplicate it, and you don't need hours a day.
That's awesome. How do you know when somebody's ready to make the change? Because I'm sure you talk to people that are calling prospects or leads or people that kick the can around like, hey, Mark, I'm thinking about doing something. And what is it that, is it they decide? Is it something you say, like, what's the realization, commonly speaking, what is that for them?
Yeah, I have a lot of people coming to me and they're like, ah, man, I'm so tired. Like, I think I need more sleep, or I feel burnt out, or, I'm waking up in the middle of the night and I'm just laying there. I don't have any energy for my kids. My wife wants to go out to dinner on a Friday night, and I'm like, I'd just rather watch a movie or something like that. There's just these telltale, it all comes back to like energy. And the crazy thing about energy is, and I'm speaking for me personally and my clients, I get more energy on the days that I get up earlier and go to the gym. I have more energy that takes me through the day than on the days that I, sleep in and don't go to the gym, which is very rare. But it's all these, the guys are just like, I don't have time. I need more sleep. I'm tired. I drink, 5 cups of coffee a day. I have that afternoon crash. It's like if you make, and I keep using your tagline, if you make the adjustment and you're able to get up like 45 minutes, an hour earlier a day, and do like a workout. And we can start simple. We don't have to dive in and do a bodybuilding. Like I start people very basic, walking, some body weight exercises. It's very basic. Take a look at the diet, and lo and behold, a couple weeks in, they have more energy, even though they're added something to their schedule and maybe getting up a little bit earlier in the day.
Yeah. I was literally going to just transition to your approach. I love everything you're saying about simplifying the steps. It's not as complicated as people think. It's only an hour, hour and 10 a day. I totally agree with that as too. It's funny. My coach said this to me, Mark. He told me, I'm curious on your thoughts on this. And I want to get into your program. My coach told me that on a scale of 1 to 10, that the vast majority of my workouts from an effort perspective, when I'm done, should feel like a 6, 7, or an 8. And he said, if you've done like a 9 or a 10, that should be a competition day. What's your take on that, first of all?
I totally agree. I leave the gym most days and I have my guys, they push themselves. But like let's say we're doing, a set of bench, right? Like you don't need to go to failure every single time. Your muscles will actually grow and you'll get more of a result if you take it back a little bit and you work in progressive overload, right? So I have a very systemized approach of how structure exercises, reps, and sets, so that you're constantly increasing your intensity level, but you're not always like killing yourself. It's very slow and steady. It's like the tortoise and the hare, right? Like you don't want to come out like sprinting. You're gonna peter off. But if you're the tortoise and you just keep making that gradual little improvement week by week, by the end you're going to look back and be like, holy crap, I started here and I'm all the way over here.
Yeah, I love progressive overload. That's a great approach. And then, so is your offer mostly local to the New England area? Is it do you do virtual coaching? And then is it, highly customized? Is it in an app? Just walk me through the experience if somebody is going to work with.
Yeah, no, um, not local. I'm happy to work with local people, but most of with this day and age, we can do it over Zoom. I meet with clients one on one. It's very customizable. I onboard a new client, and literally the first meeting is like, let's take an hour, however long. I want to hear about your life. I want to hear your story, so I can learn best about how to set you up for success. Because there's no, if anybody ever says, and I'm not bashing anybody, but there's no one size fits all for anybody. Everybody's different. Everybody has different demands, different backgrounds, everything. So it's literally, I learn about you, we set up a system that works for you that you can do every single day, and then we touch base throughout the week. I'm in contact with clients once a week. They have access to me, happy to answer questions, because between a whole week, a lot of stuff comes up, right? You never know what's going to come up. So you have access to me that I can answer questions, make small little adjustments, and then when the week rolls around, we have another one-on-one, check in, look at progress, and then that's when we'd make bigger adjustments as opposed to like during the week. But it's all customizable because everybody's no one size fits.
Awesome. And when things are going right for you, like what are the common habits you see the shifts in these people making? I'm curious.
Mhm. Um, I'm a huge morning person, and I encourage a lot of people to try to make that adjustment and get up earlier, because my big thing is you win the morning and you set yourself up, doing that hard thing, then the way that you're going to carry yourself and bring yourself through the day is just going to be that much better. You get up, you do that workout, you have better energy, you go home, hang out with get your say hi to your wife, get your kids ready for school, get them off for their day. Then you go to the office. Another one little tidbit that I love to see my clients do is after they do their workout, they spend their time with their family. Go to a local coffee shop, or don't go right to your computer. Pull out. I have a pen in my hand. Pull out a journal and write and be mindful. And I have a journal framework that I give my clients to be intentional about their day. But going to the gym, I always have a lot of thoughts going in my head, a lot of creativity. So I don't want to get that stuck in there. I go somewhere and I write for like, 20 minutes or 30 minutes while I have my morning coffee, then go to the office. And I guarantee you, as soon as you walk through that office, you're the person sitting at the front desk or the person you sit next to, they'll be like, wow, you got a little extra pep in your step today just from that,
Hmm.
setting, doing the workout, hanging out with your kids and doing that intentional journaling. You're gonna feel it almost immediately.
Awesome. That's fantastic. You're selling me, dude. I might need a new coach soon. This is great. Well, there's a funny stat around, like, so I've always made a joke that, like, I'm not the New Year's resolution guy because anybody can choose to change on any given day of the year. But there is a stat around like New Year's resolutions of fitness where people say the average length of somebody that says, I'm going to work out this year, it's January 12th is when it ends. And
Mm,
so the question I have for you, in my book, Make the Adjustment, I talk about it, and it's a common thing. 21 days to make or break a habit, 3 to 6 months to change a behavior. We say 12 days on,
mm,
January 1st, people quit. When people hit an obstacle, because we all do, because so many people that are listening have, they restarted their fitness journey. Maybe they even lost weight, they did better, and then they kind of fell back again, right? So what is the
mhm.
key to not allowing the people to fall back again or to get past January 12th? Or, walk me through that mindset as a coach. Like, how do you navigate that with people? Because that is definitely a common challenge I'm sure you face.
Yeah, I think there's two things to it, right? So one is I do a lot of work on mindset and self-identity. So sure, it's a fitness journey, right? Like you want to get back in shape or you want to get in shape for the first time, but you have to really start to believe like you're the person who is in shape. I'm the person that goes to the gym every day. Like I'm an athlete. You have to have like positive self-talk and be really stern with yourself. You have to set the high standard and don't negotiate with it. Because if you negotiate with yourself, you're going to negotiate when it comes outside of yourself and you're going to start missing the mark in other places. So we
Right.
do a lot of mindset work and self identity. And then the other thing is give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Life gets hard, right? You
Yeah.
miss a workout, you get sick, a kid's sick, a wife's traveling, something comes up, and oh crap, like I have a piece of pizza or something, right? That's one day or one meal. You don't have to let like one bad day, one bad meal, one bad anything snowball into like 2 days, 3 days, a week. Like literally, it can end like the next decision. So if you have like, if you're traveling and you're like, I'm starving, and you grab a piece of pizza and then you're like, oh man, I really shouldn't have done that. Start the next meal. Don't wait until tomorrow
Right.
or
Right.
Monday. Like
Right.
the next meal you have, you know, a healthy meal that gets you back on track. So just give yourself grace, recognize it, see it, and then get back in the groove as soon as possible.
So it's funny you say that because in Martel's program, I put the 5 daily non-negotiables on my phone, but I put a sixth non-negotiable you'll probably laugh at. I put 32 of 35 meals dialed. And so I try to have 5 smallish meals a day. Like that's my objective, high protein, count my macros. But I know myself.
Hmm.
And sometimes I miss, right? And so when I say 32 of 35, man, if I actually do which I do most weeks, if I do the 32 of 35 and you're off track 3 meals, that's pretty human and approachable and realistic. Like that's not too bad. And I've
100%.
consistently maintained, I've lost weight, maintained weight, I've been in good shape now for 5, 6 years. So to your point, you have to give people
Hmm.
grace. Like, yeah, we're humans and you can make a mistake or you're in a party situation or something. But it is all about the next meal. Because when I do eat pizza that night, I'm literally like the next morning, it's like it's eggs, it's steak, it's like no carbs. Like you just have to get smart.
Yep. Percent. For example, today's Friday, right? And last Friday, so we do movie night with the kids on Friday night. Last week, I was really hungry. It was a high carb day for me, and I had been craving pizza. I got pizza. We're gonna have pizza and a movie night. I ate almost a whole pizza for Friday night, right? Granted, like I have it scheduled into my nutrition, but I ate a little bit more than I should have. But that's okay. Guess what? Saturday morning, I'm up. I have my normal breakfast, go to the gym. I didn't let that, whole pizza turn into I'm gonna have pizza for leftovers tomorrow morning. I just got right back on track.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not compounding that for sure. That's a really good call out. That's awesome. Are you,
Yeah.
when it comes to the food thing, do you lean into macros? Do you lean into vegetarian? Do you lean into protein? Like, what do you kind of lean into typically, or is it very highly customized?
It's very high. I mean, I have my preferences, but again, it's very customizable. But for me, like I'm a huge macros guy. Macros in versus that's energy coming in versus energy going out in your workout. So you have to be in balance. But I'm definitely a big believer in tracking your macros because a lot of times, like I said earlier in our conversation, um, it's hard to be objective if you're not objective, right? So I have a food journal and I write down everything that I eat during the day to keep track of it because I could get to the end of the day or I could get to tomorrow and be like, I can't remember what I ate yesterday. So like, I think Dan says this and a lot of people say it, but like you can't improve what you don't track. So like you don't know what you don't know. And
Yeah.
the food journal, it's not to like be made super hard. It's literally just a scrap paper. But like if you don't know what you're putting in your body, like you can't make the adjustment when you go to like start working with a coach. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
you have to come up with simple systems and it doesn't have to be complicated. A piece of scratch paper. Easy.
I remember, I remember Dan said on a call, he said, if you don't measure it, it doesn't matter. I remember that's exactly what he said on a
Exactly.
call. Like you have to measure it. Like you have to
Yep.
know exactly what it is. Um, and yeah, and to your
Hmm.
point, like having a coach, I want to come back to that too. Every coach needs a coach. Dan talks about it. I talk about it. You talk about it. I have a coach. You have a coach. It's like the value of it's an accountability system. Because to your point, we can
Hmm.
lie to ourselves. Because guilty, I've done it before. Like without a coach, I can go to my
100%.
Fitness Pal or a journal, right? Whatever system I have, and track what I ate. But did I really track it? Was I really honest? Did I put in the M&Ms from last
Hmm.
night? Like, and so, but like if you actually really track it and then have an accountability coach, they can be like, hey man, and it becomes less about the food and the psychology. Like, hey, I saw what happened last week. Well, what happened? Help me understand, and they can get you back
Hmm.
on track, because it might be something your personal life's happening, or you're not feeling as, who knows what's happening, right? So I think having an
100%.
outlet, um, you call it a coach, but it's an outlet, somebody you can build trust with and talk to, I think is a massive part of the journey, because we all know success is not linear. You don't just start a program and get better instantly. It's three steps ahead and two steps back, and so forth, right? So just talk to me about the value you see of like you having a coach and Dan, or people having you as a coach, like the accountability system and how that all works, and why you see people actually sustain the growth, you know?
Yeah. So I think one of the things is that, Dan says it, and you said the last quote better, but I think I do know this one. The transformation happens at the transaction. And what I mean by that is like you can think about something forever and be like, I want to get in shape. I need to hire a coach. I know I need to do this. But until you can make up your mind, but until you make up your mind, you're not going to do it. So as soon as you say, yes, Mark, I want to work with you, and you pay the money, in your head, it's a signal, oh, I've done this. Like I got skin in the game. I've made up my mind. So I think just like knowing that you've decided and committing to it, it's a mental thing. So like once you say yes and you're committed, like you're halfway there. Then the next step is, um, you know, you don't have, nobody knows everything. It's always good to get outside perspective. So again, I hate to like beat a dead horse, but being objective, like you can come back to like being objective, like, uh, Mr. Client says to me, oh, I had a really bad week training, I ate kind of like crap, but we're going over, their photos, their food log, their workouts. It's like, man, like you crushed it. You crushed it. You absolutely did. You lost a pound, or you increased your weight here on this workout. So like sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit. We're hard on ourselves. So it goes the other way too. Like you have to give yourself grace, and you have to celebrate the wins. And then just having somebody else's perspective on something to like steer you in the right direction is huge. It's really huge. Hey, have you tried this? I know you've been doing this, but what if you switch it out for this? And just getting different perspectives from somebody that is like, one step ahead of you, or a chapter ahead of you, or something, just
Yeah.
stealing their systems because they've done it and they have knowledge to offer to, help get you there a little bit
Right.
faster.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, I want to talk to you too about your entrepreneurial journey, because I'm on one myself, 3 years in my business. And, year one, I had a mentor. Year two, I hired a company called Smart Coach to help me with my social media. Year three, I hired Dan Martell Elite Coaching, right? So I do believe the best of the best of the best individual contributors, leaders, people, dads, whomever, that they have the courage to know they don't know everything, and that they will gain some great insights and ideas from somebody else. Like I said, and I'm like tongue in cheek, like, Mark, I might need a new coach soon because my kettlebell program ends soon. But you and I had a moment before the podcast, like you're still growing. Like I want to dig into, like, we coaches, we leaders, right? We carry weight and we motivate
Mhm.
people every day, but sometimes there's nobody to motivate us. And so you were talking about like
Yeah.
reading, it was the breakthrough code you're reading right now. Like talk to me about like the books you read, the things that you do to stay sharp, because we pour so much out for the people that we coach, right, in our business, but like we also need support too. Like what do you do for your own self-care and your own development?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So I practice what I preach, first of all, right? Like I go to the gym, I eat healthy, like fitness is my foundation, non-negotiable, like no excuses. I journal every day, whether it's on my computer, whether I'm like creative writing, or I pull out pen and paper. It depends on how I feel, and I'm, working something out in my head, but I get to get out of my head and you put it on paper, and sometimes it's not so scary, and then, sometimes you're writing your vivid vision. So I definitely do those two things. And then behind me is just a small collection of books I read. Um, I love reading. Sometimes I read more than others. Right now I'm in a big reading phase where like all I want to do is read, and just like it brings me to another place. So I read, mindset books. I read stories of, other successful entrepreneurs. I read health books. Like it just depends on what I'm feeling, but just reading and again learning from other people's stories is so motivating because as we're building, we jump and we have to build the parachute on the way down, but sometimes we don't have like all the tools and materials. So you have to feed your mind and get that, get the mental win too with some reading.
Totally true. In your content, I looked obviously on YouTube and things. We'll talk, promote your YouTube channel and stuff in a minute, but you talk about legacy. Talk to me about why that's important to you. A lot of the most successful people I work with and get insights on, they talk about their legacy. By the way, I played basketball with Michael Jordan. He would talk about it. I worked with entrepreneurs like Angelo Perrine at Nutre Meals up in Peabody. Like he talks about legacy. Talk to me about why legacy is important to you.
Yeah, legacy is important to me because of my kids. I have four kids, and I have two older daughters, and then I have two younger kids. And it's very interesting to see now that I've like I have a daughter in college, and then I want a junior in high school, and it's very interesting to see them now, and I can reflect back on when they were my younger child's ages. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is both my older daughters, they're very much into fitness, but I have never once in their life said, "Hey, you guys should really try this. It's good for you. Here are all the benefits," and preach to them. Um, I just modeled. I just modeled it. But at the time, I didn't realize that I was modeling. But now, fast forward in their 18 and 17. My oldest away at college, she goes to the gym, on a regular basis every day to work out. And then my 17-year-old that's still home, she goes to the gym every day. We work out together, and we have a YouTube channel together where we talk about fitness and mindset and business and just life in general. And it's amazing. So like now that I see my younger children, and I'm like, I just need to keep doing what I'm doing because they will pick up what I'm doing, and they will learn that, and they will model it. So legacy for me is what I'm giving to my children by showing them, not like preaching at them, but just showing them, how to get through life, and being vulnerable so that, when I leave this earth, they're like, oh, dad did this, he showed me this, and they'll learn and just kind of, keep going the way that, we had been going.
Well, if you'll humor my story, because I love that story, and it actually made me think of my son as you were talking about it. And so I've had a deep passion my whole life for coaching, and there's a stat in corporate America that 52% of people quit their job every day because of their boss. And so when I founded my company, Beyond Make the Adjustment, my tagline was developing better leaders in this world, right? So I'm going to tell you a story about my son real quick about legacy. And so during COVID, he was about 20, 21 years old. And, we're all working from home and laptops open and the whole drill. And I don't think my kids knew what I did for 20 years, right? They probably still don't know what I do now. But I was working from the table, and I was leading a team of people, and I'm doing my thing. And a couple of years later, my son, post-COVID, goes for a job interview. He gets a job. And a few months in, he was going to interview for like a team leadership role. And he came home. He's like, "Dad, I got an interview for this team leadership job. And like, what do I do?" And I'm like, I'm prepping him a little bit. And he then goes, just out of nowhere, he goes, "Well, Dad," he goes, "one thing I know I'm going to say is that I know that leadership is not about me. It's about the people I lead. And my job as a leader is to make sure that I remove the obstacles so that they can do their jobs better." And I go, "Where'd you get that from, son?" He goes, "Well, I've heard you at the table for like 9 months, and like that's how you act." And I almost cried. I was like, "Oh my God!" Like
Yeah.
they do see you, they do hear you,
Hmm.
and it wasn't like I told him that, right? I just was doing what I do, just like
Yeah.
you're doing what you do, And it is funny how parents have those moments.
Hmm. Yeah. It was so cool. Like my daughter, like when the Legacy Lab podcast started, she texted me. Like we had dinner that night, we were talking, and then she had to go dog sit. She got there, and I got a text, "Hey, Dad, we should start a podcast." I was
Amazing.
like, "What is this?"
How
And then
cool.
told, like, I asked her to tell me more about it, and she told me, the reasons why, and I was just like, "This is amazing." So yeah, it's they sometimes they don't listen, but they definitely watch.
I got the chills when you said that, because I find as a parent, your kids love you until they're like 10 or 12. And then like when they turn 12 or 13, they become demons or something. I don't know. And it's like they grow apart from their parents, but like but then they come back. It's like she came back. She's like, "Hey, Dad, can we do a podcast?" Like, but there's no
Yeah.
better listen, there's nothing better for a parent than when your child wants to work with you or spend that kind of time with you. So that's incredible. That's awesome. Well, you mentioned the podcast. So just tell people where to find you. So if they're interested in working with you, social media, all the
Mhm.
things, like where can people find you?
Yeah, no, would love to connect with anybody. And again, no pressure. This is my passion. If it works, great. If not, then you'll find somebody else. But reach out to me. I love to talk to people. Chris and I just connected, but you can find us on YouTube. It's the Legacy Lab podcast. We put episodes up every week on various like fitness, lifestyle, business, mindset, all that kind of stuff. I'm most active on Instagram, so I'm just at Mark Boutin, put out a bunch of fitness content. And then feel free to email me at mark@thelegacylabpodcast.com. And happy to connect with anybody.
Awesome. And we'll make sure that's in the show notes. So that's awesome. And the only takeaway for me is for our listeners, if you go to maketheadjustment.com, I just put out a companion workbook. It's funny you talk about journals. And so if people listen to Spotify or Apple, they won't see this, but on the YouTube channel, over my shoulder is my book. I have Make the Adjustment. I have the Make the Adjustment Companion Workbook. It's basically a journal, like you just said, about self-improvement and improving your outcomes. It's not fitness related. It's a little more, it leans a little more into business, but I did put a section in there for people that aren't business people. They're just looking to improve their outcomes. So it's funny how you've talked about journaling, because I did find that like writing a book it's listen, it was a passion project. I loved writing the book. It's a useful tool for people to improve their outcomes. But the workbook itself, when you actually have to grab a pen and write, I can find moves the needle even more. So for people, I'll make sure that's in the show notes as well. So, but listen,
Nice.
Mark, listen, founder, entrepreneur, you're doing the things, you're on the journey of growing your business, and listen, the work you do, it's incredibly impactful because it transforms people's lives. Like the work that coaches like yourself do literally can take people. It's not even, and this too, it's not just the fitness thing. You've talked about the mindset. It's about how people feel, and it's also who they become. So I guess I want to land on that. Like
100%.
the success journey you've seen people go on. Just talk to me about like start with the end in mind. What does the end look like with a client of yours? What does that look like in 3, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever that is?
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad we're ending here. It really is a journey. I have a lot of people come to me burnt out, no energy. I don't recognize myself in the mirror. I have no energy for, my wife, my kids, any of that. And the cool thing is to be able to work with them um, on a consistent basis, week by week, and slowly see them get that energy back, get that, a little swagger back in their step. Hey, went out brought my wife out to a dinner, had an awesome time. I played ball with my kids in the yard, and you would think that it's not these big, I stepped on a bodybuilding stage. It's the little things that matter the most. I shot hoops with my kids. I went for a walk with my wife. Anything, anything like that, just to see them get their swagger back. And, then it compounds and rolls over into, hey, Mark, like this may not be fitness related, but I just had this huge win at work. We landed this big deal, or I got this big promotion, they think it's not related, but it all starts. You have a vehicle. One day I posted about, we all have one vehicle to drive through life in. Do you want to drive through life in a Toyota, or do you want to drive through life in a Lamborghini? I'm taking the Lamborghini every single day.
Absolutely. No, and you articulate it perfectly. It's just the work that you do carries far beyond, like you said, how we might look in the mirror, or the body fat percentage, which is, by the way, I'm all for all of that, but it's how you make people feel. And once they feel a certain way, they become a certain person, right? So it's a transformation. So, Mark, thanks again for, joining the podcast. For people, if you got value from today's episode, please share it with another founder, business owner, friend, dad who needs to hear this message. Because I think a lot of us, it's a message we all need to hear and be reminded of. And so, Mark, I'm really glad we met. And like I said, there's a good chance I could be a customer of yours in the near future as well, just because it's always good to have a coach. So thanks for doing the podcast today.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Thanks for having me, Chris. This was
All right,
awesome.
Mark. Thanks, buddy.